we can start, Bia.
Ji. So, namaste everyone. So, we will continue reading from the point where we left last week. We were reading the economic history, Arthik Itihas. So, and in that, we had come to the point where the democratic systems basically came about. We learned about that, okay, the typical democracy system. Um, the difference between a democratic system and the monarchical system is that now the public representatives actually rules. Yeah. And and there are actually three branches of this: the legislative, judiciary, and executive, right? So in different forms are there, and legislative is a very important work, which in our country it is in the form of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, or Vidhan Sabha, right? So that is what we had actually discussed, and uh, maybe we can actually start reading from this onwards. I think it is a um, very interesting account of history. It kind of summarizes the whole thing in a very big, sweeping way. But when we actually detail it in our minds and by fill in the details in terms of the particular events that happened in the history, uh, it 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 holds true. And then you basically probably get the picture that okay, that is where the things stand. Okay, so Sanjeev Bhaiya, over to you.
Divya, I'll begin reading the first section. And Divya, one request, can we make the font size a little bigger?
Yes, of course.
So we are on Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad, page number 13 in the Hindi book. तो जनप्रतिनिधि विधि से संप्रभुता वोट मत देते समय मानव गलती नहीं करता, इसीलिए जनादेश संप्रभुता का द्योतक है। इसी मान्यता के आधार पर गणतांत्रिक व्यवस्था प्रारंभ हुई। जहां जहां अभी भी राजा लोग हैं, वहां वहां विधायिका का स्वामी राजा को आज भी प्रधान माना जाता है। राजतंत्र के समय की मान्यता के अनुसार राजा स्वयं ईश्वर का प्रतिनिधि है। राजा कभी गलती नहीं करता, इसीलिए संप्रभुता राजा का स्वरूप है। ऐसी मान्यताएं वंशानुगत उत्तराधिकारी होने को मान लेती है। इस प्रकार जनप्रतिनिधि रूप में राजगद्दी का दावेदार अथवा राज परंपरा से आया हुआ राजा राजगद्दी में बैठा होता है। इनके लिए आम आदमी का सम्मान गौरव अर्पित होते ही रहता है। हर समुदाय किसी न किसी राजगद्दी में अर्पित होता ही है, चाहे वह राजतांत्रिक गद्दी हो या गणतांत्रिक। अस्तु इनमें यह चीज देखने को मिली कि संग्रह कार्य इनके लिए अत्यंत आसान हो जाता है। The democratic system is founded on the belief that people do not make mistakes while casting their votes. Hence, the public verdict is a symbol of sovereignty. It is this belief that led to the establishment of democratic system. However, in regions where monarchy still exists, the monarch is regarded as the sovereign authority over the legislature. The monarchical system is based on the notion that monarch is representative of God and therefore infallible, embodying sovereignty. Such beliefs justify hereditary succession. As a result, the seat of power is either occupied by a public representative or a ruler from the royal lineage. The general populace continues to show respect and honor to these figures. Every community aligns itself with a particular seat of power, whether monarchical or democratic. A common observation is that for these rulers, the accumulation of wealth becomes exceedingly easy. You can read the following paragraph also, Bhaiya, and then we can discuss it together. If we can scroll down.
Just 1 minute.
या इस विश्लेषण से यह निष्कर्ष निकला कि आदिकाल से अभी तक वस्तु संग्रह करने वाले व्यक्तियों का अनुपात बढ़ते गया। शक्ति केंद्रित शासन के अनुसार बंदूक, तोप, प्रक्षेपास्त्र, विस्फोट आदि वध विध्वंस कार्यों का अधिकार संविधान विधि के अनुकूल प्रणालियों से राजा या नेता को प्रदत्त रहता है। इसे प्रत्येक शासन तंत्र में देखा जा सकता है। ऐसे शासन सम्मत अधिकार संपन्न व्यक्तियों के अतिरिक्त समर शक्तियों का उपयोग करना दूसरों के लिए अवैध माना गया है। इसीलिए ऐसे व्यक्ति ऐसे विध्वंसक कार्यों को करते हुए शासन तंत्र के कब्जे में न आ सकने की स्थिति में उग्रवादी, आतंकवादी आदि नामों से जाने जाते हैं। यह संघर्षवाद का एक स्पष्ट मूल्यांकन है। दिस एनालिसिस लीड्स टू द फॉलोइंग कंक्लूजन्स। The proportion of individuals involved in hoarding has consistently increased from ancient times to the present day. Under power-centric rule, the authority to possess and use weapons such as guns, missiles, and explosives for mass destruction is legally granted to the monarch or the political leader. This is a standard practice across various ruling systems. For anyone outside these authorized figures, the use of such war materials is considered illegal. Consequently, those who engage in destructive activities and manage to evade capture by the government are labeled as militants or terrorists. This is a clear evaluation of struggleism. Excellent observations in these two paragraphs. Bhaiya.
Hmm. Anything that you would like to add, Bhaiya, to for explaining
Um,
these?
I was reading it, I just thought that most of them are straightforward,
Hmm.
clearly
Hmm.
observable, but
Hmm.
put them in a summary way, in a flow. These are good things. Like in the second paragraph, which I read now. So, like there are explosives and guns and missiles, okay, which are used, let's say, legally or officially by governments or armies. But then if someone else uses them, they are called, the users are called extremists or terrorists. But the
Hmm.
governments can use it. So it is the same thing that it is used for killing other people. But when the government uses it or the armies use it, then it is considered legal. It's a good observation. And
Hmm.
uh, and then in the previous paragraph, it talks about sovereignty, that the monarch cannot make mistakes. It is assumed, so it is just assumed. But when we critically look at it, we realize that we actually feel that mistakes are being made at leadership levels in various governments, and we see countries attacking others, with the, let's say, mindset of exploiting the resources of the attacked country. Okay, so things are not as they appear to be. So I
Hmm.
think it's most of the Samiksha part, the balanced critique of what the journey has been so far, and it lays the foundation for trying to find the alternative or establish the alternative. That's it from my side.
Yeah. So basically, in the monarchical system was based on the assumption that this whole world is created by the God, and God is the absolute ruler of the world. He's a benevolent ruler. He would punish the wrongdoers, and that is how basically the faith was there across the world. That is the essential idea, that the God is the supreme authority. But because the God is remains mysterious and not somebody who basically you can uh, touch and feel or see the person, so there needs to be an incarnation. There need to be a personification of God who can actually say that the authority of the God will need to come. We need to be something visible to people. So then they came up with the idea that the monarch is the representative of the god. And basically, the idea was to bring about order in the society and uh, make the people fall in line when it came to the things, instead of there being an anarchical system. So instead of being an anarchy, to bring about an order, this whole idea that from was derived from faith, that the God, the monarch is a representative of God, and the faith actually worked on uh, basically building the uh, some sort of a fear of the king also. Now, because the king cannot rule or the monarch cannot rule directly all the people, so he added certain officials to his uh, uh, this the all the mantris or the ministers that he added, right? And basically devolved some of the power that was bestowed on him or to them, and they it was considered that even these ministers will have the same power as the god as the monarch has, and monarch in turn has the same power as the god has, right? So even like for example in Vidhan Sodha of Bangalore, on the top of that building it is written the um, government's work is God's work, right? And even in US also there is, I think in the on top of the Capitol building, it's written that in God we trust. Right. So basically, the whole idea is that government is representative of God, and people need to actually obey the government as they would obey the God. So, and that is how the social cohesion and the order in the society would be brought about. Now, initially, the monarchical system was hereditary. That means basically there is a uh, the son of or daughter of the uh, monarch will be the king, and that is how the power of God would get transferred, right? So even that lineage system is maintained even today in some countries like England is the United Kingdom, right? That you still see that. Yeah. So, but when the democracy came, they basically said still maintained the idea of rulership and God's authority largely, but basically said that the public representative, the people person who is selected elected by the people, will come into the position of leadership, position of ruling, right? So now you need to actually have the democratic system needs to actually give some reasoning how the public's representative has the uh, power to actually get the leader who is worthy of ruling, right? Because the earlier the logic, there has to be some logic, some reasoning has to be there. Earlier, the reasoning was that the God's power are bestowed on the king or the monarch. Now, the logic is that the people. at the time of casting their votes, do not make mistakes. They otherwise can make mistakes, but at the time of casting their vote, they do not make mistakes. Okay, so that is the basic assumption of democracy. So the election system is considered to be the sacred thing, right, for democracy to actually hold. If the election system is brought into the question, then the democracy actually falls apart, right? So that is the logic of the first paragraph, and then the second one, as you had described, it kind of gives us these conclusions, right? uh, that how these people who actually are in the position of power, they actually end up accumulating a lot of wealth, disproportionate amount of wealth, right? And the people who actually kept the initially the when we were hunter gatherers, at that time accumulation was not our main objective for most of the people. But as in history we progressed, humans actually became hoarders. And now the hoarding has become pretty much the occupation of all the people. Whether the hoarding is small or less, but essentially hoarding needs to be there so that we have certain security, material security, right? So that is what basically this historical account actually suggests. So anything anyone wants to add to this? Or
Yes, Priya, I was just wondering whether, in a very informal way, the same principles of the controller and the controlled has also percolated into our family system. So, at some point in time, there has to be the head of the family. That is
Hmm.
not the basis, is not wisdom as such, but
Hmm.
somebody has the authority. And I
बिल्कुल.
even see, even in the economic systems, even today, you see that the control of everything would be in the hands of maybe a few,
Hmm.
uh, the financial things. So I think not only was it restricted to the king and the monarchs, and it percolated down into everyday life, which the remnants of it have become so normalized even today that probably it doesn't even strike us to be aware
बिल्कुल.
of it. That even at home, I see some of these things. Even the man woman divide could be coming from there. I'm just wondering.
Yes, that is true. So basically, the idea that there for any system there has to be somebody in command.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, that is the basic assumption that we are actually having. While Vyavastha is not that, Vyavastha does not mean centralized control or power centric rule, right? So that is, and also basically Babaji actually highlights the how the order is there in rest of the nature. It is not hierarchical, right? But
Yeah.
essentially that of collaboration and complementarity, right? So that is I mean, so in humans also collaboration and complementarity is the basis of order. That is the that is what is basically being suggested here. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a contradiction. Sometimes I wonder if you look at even the company structure and organization, at one level, the systems and everything is put into place because maybe unconsciously that impetus that is coming from Vyavastha is there in everybody. So there is a need to be organized. And yet within that organization, because this complementarity is not brought in, it only a
Hmm.
hierarchical structure is brought in, there is constantly conflict and therefore problems with the employees or problems with, and this is what is coming to me. Uh,
Yeah,
that
that's
we live
true.
in this conflict all the time and expect things to be a working environment to be really peaceful, or outside there to be no chaos, but as long as there is the controller and the controlled centric systems or anything that is coming into place, that contradiction will continue to be, is how I'm seeing.
जी बिल्कुल. So in this book, what we will learn is that how the matter in its fundamental form itself is not is in the form of complementarity. The conflict is not the intrinsic nature of reality. So whatever is built on top of this this matter uh, would actually be sustainable only when it is built on complementarity principle. So we are basically uh, shown that how at the fundamental level there is no conflict in the existence, and in nature there is how the complementarity and complement and how the cooperation is actually built into the whole system. The relationship is real, right? So the things are not basically, relationship is not something that is an externally imposed idea, or but actually part of our being itself, right? So in the coming chapters, you will learn what does it mean when Avaji says existence is coexistence, right?
Hmm.
So we will actually come to that.
Thank you.
Anybody wants to add to this? Sanjeev Bhaiya?
If not, we can move forward. Renuji, will you read the next section?
Yeah, I am actually outside
No
driving.
problem. No problem. No problem.
I can
No
read.
problem. Ji,
I
Sheila,
can
read.
read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the sound okay?
Didi, yeah, it is perfect. And you can also read two paragraphs. These are small paragraphs. You can read two at a time.
Okay.
Ji, Didi.
So, शासन विधि प्रणाली प्रक्रियाओं से अधिकतर जनता उत्पीड़ित होते रही है, अभी तो उत्पीड़ित हो रही है। इससे छुटकारा पाने के लिए गणतंत्र प्रणाली को सोचा गया। इसके बावजूद उत्पीड़न अधिक, प्रसन्नता कम है। इस प्रसन्नता और अप्रसन्नता का आधार वस्तु संग्रह होने या न होने की घटना पर आधारित है। Most of the public has historically suffered from the methods, processes, and procedures of state rule, and this continues to be the case today. The democratic system was conceived as a solution to alleviate such suffering. However, paradoxically, there seems to be more harassment and less happiness within the democratic framework. People's sense of happiness or harassment is largely determined by their ability to accumulate wealth. इसी तरह एक और समुदाय है जो हमें राजयुग से ही ईश्वर के प्रति आस्था, निष्ठा स्थापित करके क्लेश मुक्ति के लिए उपदेश देते रहे, परोपकार, असंग्रह का उपदेश देते रहे हैं। ऐसे लोगों को हम गुरु, तपस्वी, संत, यति आदि मानकर सम्मान करते रहे हैं। आम जनता आस्था पूर्वक इनके लिए वस्तु अर्पित करती रही है। ऐसे लोगों को एक वर्ग के रूप में पहचाना जा सकता है। ऐसे महापुरुषों का अध्ययन करने पर पता लगता है कि इनमें से कुछ लोगों को वस्तु संग्रह करना आसान हो गया है, अथवा ये लोग वस्तुओं का संग्रह कर चुके हैं। पहले ये मेधावी व्यक्ति अपने तप, योग, अभ्यास, स्वाध्याय से, प्रभावशाली प्रवचनों और उपदेशों से, परोपकारी कार्यों से मनोकामना पूर्ण करने का आश्वासन देने में अग्रणी रहे। ये सब गौरव, सम्मान, आदर के पात्र रहे हैं। There is another class of people who, since the age of monarchy, have been delivering sermons to promote liberation from suffering by fostering faith and devotion to God, charity, and non accumulation. We have traditionally respected these individuals, recognizing them as gurus, ascetics, saints, monks, and the like. The general public has consistently offered them gifts with unwavering faith. Such people can be recognized as a category. A closer examination of these remarkable individuals reveals that for some of them, the accumulation of wealth has become easy and may have indeed amassed significant wealth. These insightful individuals have taken the lead in assuring the general public of the fulfillment of their desires through powerful sermons, discourses, yoga, practice, self study, and similar methods. All these individuals have garnered the respect and adoration of the people.
Ji Didi, would you like to add something?
Mm, no, not really. I think it's मेरे को तो ठीक ठाक ही लग रहा है.
Yeah,
The second, can I go to the second part? In the second part, when they're talking about a particular category of people who did, talk about liberation and charity and non-accumulation, it recognizes that they were, क्या बोले, अच्छे लोग, है ना?
Hmm.
But then they also had access to a lot of wealth and
Hmm.
probably, yeah, many have indeed amassed significant wealth. So they have also done that.
Hmm.
So this is kind of a respecting them at some level, but also saying, oops, you've fallen on the sangrah part.
Yeah, so basically it is stating a fact that there has been a class of people right from the time of monarchy who actually have been delivering sermons to people and promising them liberation from uh, the bondage, suffering, and giving them solace at the time of their difficult times, that it will be all right and things like that, right? Also a place where people can go to and uh, and confess or basically cry or uh, get blessings for if something good happens to them. The whole idea of the faith is there that people do not have the confidence within themselves. So they seek submission to a higher authority. And these people actually claim that space. And they basically very uh, have become adept in giving assurances that it will be all right. भगवान की कृपा से सब ठीक हो जाएगा. इस तरीके से they would actually give that. So these assurances people want. So people essentially are not able to come out of their servile nature. So they will need turn to these so-called shepherds, yeah, or the people who basically show them the promise. So they would. So I was reading a long time back a book by Eric Fromm, right? It's called Escape from Freedom. Say that when people turn inward, they find there is so much vacuum inside them, they actually become afraid of that. And this they seek assurance from some authority. Somebody would basically say that it is all right, you are good, it will be okay. So that is where these people actually are coming into picture, who are basically giving them some talisman, something to hold on to, giving them certain practice, some sort of routine or a ritual or something like that, so that there is uh, some sanity in their life, so some regularity in their life. Yeah. So that is what, but at the same time, there have been many of them have actually ended up exploiting the people's sentiment and their gullibility, right? And have actually profited out of that, built empires out of that. We already see that happening around us in our country more so. Probably it is there everywhere. Yeah. So that is what I would have to say on this.
Good, Bhaiya.
And
Good.
I just wanted to highlight one thing. There is a word Ganatantra in Hindi, and I think the first paragraph of the ones that were read. La,
hmm,
yes, छुटकारा पाने के लिए गणतंत्र प्रणाली.
hmm.
Um, so the I think the literal word to it would be republic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Ganatantra is a republic. But I would basically I need to really see what is the difference between
Actually, the
most
context
democracies are
also
republic.
context also mm, suggests that it should be republic, because democracy is basically, of course, the rule of the people, and republic
Hmm.
means it is about the head of the state, so that person is also elected directly or indirectly by the people. That is republic. For example, India is both democracy and republic, but the UK
Hmm.
is only democratic, not republic.
Okay, yes, that's true. That's true. So, would you say that we write here democratic system instead of democratic, we say Republican system?
I
I was,
think so, because we have been talking about monarchy, and to again, I mean, pretty much another point to that is republic. So that, we discuss monarchy, and then let's discuss republic as well. There also we did not
Mhm.
find a solution.
Okay. I'm putting that Republican system. I'll just think further on this. I was actually, I debated on this, but then was took Democrat. I did some research on this, and they said that most democracies are republic only, and Republicans are essentially democratic. So I was a little confused on this. But your point is valid that uh, the Republican system, it would be a direct mapping of mm, monarchical system, more direct mapping.
जी.
Okay, आगे चलते हैं.
Okay. So, who offers? Vandanati, will you read the next paragraph, if convenient?
यहाँ से पहले 4 समुदायों से
जी जी जी.
हाँ.
Just 1 minute.
या
Yeah.
पहले 4
One second before Vandanati starts reading, the English section appears to be very small here. So I hope it covers all the Hindi section.
जी भैया, I have tried to. We'll see if I miss
या
something.
राइट जी जी।
जी। पहले चार समुदायों के संदर्भ में विश्लेषण पूर्वक उनकी स्थिति स्पष्ट की जा चुकी है। इसके अतिरिक्त लोगों को हम आम जनता कहते हैं, जिनसे पहले आम जनता में से कुछ लोगों के पास सर्वकालीन उत्पादन कार्य हाथ में है, कुछ दूसरों लोगों के पास अर्धकालीन उत्पादन कार्य हाथ में है, तीसरे कुछ लोगों के पास अल्पकालीन उत्पादन कार्य हाथ में है, चौथे कुछ लोगों के पास कोई भी उत्पादन कार्य हाथ में नहीं है। इन चार स्वरूपों में दिखने वाले आम जनता में से उत्पादन कार्य शून्य समुदाय द्वारा अंशकालीन, अर्धकालीन, पूर्णकालीन उत्पादन कार्य आज की स्थिति में धनोत्पादन कार्य की ओर गतिशील होने पाया जा रहा है। इस प्रकार अंशकालीन उत्पादन कार्य और अथवा धनोत्पादन कार्य अथवा अर्धकालीन उत्पादन कार्य अथवा धनोत्पादन कार्य जिन जिन समुदायों के हाथ में है, वे पूर्णकालीन धनोत्पादन कार्य में व्यस्त होने के लिए गतिशील हैं। पूर्णकालीन उत्पादन कार्य अथवा धनोत्पादन कार्य जिनके पास है, वे संग्रह कार्य में संलग्न होते दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं। The situation of the first four classes of the people has been clearly analyzed. The remaining people are commonly referred to as general public. Within this group, some individuals are engaged in full-time work, others in part-time work, some work in some have intermediate work, and some have no work at all. These different segments of the general public are increasingly involved in the wealth earning activities. Those with part-time work aspire to secure full-time employment. Those with full-time employment are increasingly seen engaging in activities focused on accumulation. जी भैया।
I think it is kind of straightforward that we talked about the ruling class and the class of people who actually give assurances to the people like gurus and saints and things. And then after that, we are coming to the people who are called the general public. And the general public is actually engaged in mostly in their activities of livelihood. Some of them have full-time jobs, some of them have part-time jobs, sometimes some of them have um, intermittent jobs that okay, when the season comes, then they will find some work. Okay, so that is where it is. So basically, but the whole idea that is being said is that the goal of even the general public is also to basically uh, hold to have material security. That is what is the uh, thing that occupies their mind. Yeah. So
भैया
anyone?
हाँ,
जी
मतलब जो संजीव चोपड़ा जी कह रहे थे ना कि इट इज लिटिल शॉर्ट, तो आई वाज लुकिंग एट इट लिटिल मोर माइन्यूटली. सो देन
हाँ
द इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ दिस, इन द हिंदी पार्ट, जिनमें पहले आम जनता में से कुछ लोगों के पास सर्वकालीन उत्पादन कार्य हाथ में है. तो इन द फर्स्ट इट टॉक्स अबाउट द उत्पादन कार्य, एंड देन इट
हम्म.
सेज चौथे कुछ लोगों के पास कोई भी उत्पादन कार्य नहीं है,
Okay.
है ना.
Yeah,
तो
while I have
दैट
not,
पार्ट
I
इज
have
नॉट
written more, all of them as qualified as work rather
वर्क.
than
हाँ,
production activity. Hmm.
सो विच इज फाइन. इन चार स्वरूपों में दिखने वाली आम जनता में से उत्पादन कार्य शून्य समुदाय में द्वारा, then those who don't do any उत्पादन कार्य, they have अंशकालीन, अर्धकालीन, पूर्णकालीन
Yeah,
tasks.
so basically production work, I should instead of writing only work, I can write production work.
Okay, yeah.
it's kind of basically saying that the idea is work, meaning some sort of a production or
Production.
service.
Yeah,
Hmm.
production
So
वाला part.
typically work is can be things which actually do the production or assist the production. Yeah. सो ऑल दैट एक्चुअली कार्य के अंदर जो है वो सभी कुछ आ जाता है जो कि मतलब जिसको हम व्यवसाय कहते हैं ना, व्यवसाय में एक्चुअली इट्स नॉट ऑलवेज जस्ट प्रोडक्शन, सेवा इज ऑल्सो व्यवसाय, you know. So I thought the meaning that basically is indicated is that people have uh, places of occupation which may be engaging them full time or half part time or time intermittent, time to time. Yeah. Yes,
And
ad hoc.
does it seem
Hmm.
to say that those people who are not doing उत्पादन कार्य, they are increasingly involved in wealth accumulation? ऐसा कुछ मीनिंग जा रहा है, तो एक
नो,
मिनट आराम से।
लास्ट वाले में तो ये है कि जिनके पास में फुल टाइम ऑक्यूपेशन है, पूर्णकालीन उत्पादन कार्य है अथवा धनोपार्जन कार्य जिनके पास में है, वो एक्चुअली संग्रह कार्य में संलग्न होते दिखाई दे रहे हैं. द पीपल हु आर विद द people who have the production activity or who have figured out how to earn money, they are actually engaged in accumulating even more. So the production, the purpose of production was to actually fulfill the needs and participate in the society. That is uh, that is not adequately addressed. The purpose of earning wealth was is still to extent is to fulfill the basic needs, but it has becoming more about uh, uh, mm, hoarding, yeah, for imagined insecurity. Yeah.
The wealth earning has gone shifted to wealth accumulation and hoarding.
Hoarding, yes.
ये
Yeah,
शून्य
thank you.
समुदाय नहीं समझ आया भैया, ये किसको अंशकालीन, ये आपने
जिनके पास कोई
उत्पादन
काम
कार्य,
नहीं.
उत्पादन कार्य शून्य मतलब who don't do any production, who don't have any production.
उत्पादन कार्य शून्य समुदाय. No, but then so अंशकालीन, अर्धकालीन, पूर्णकालीन ये एक लाइन में लिखा है, पर शून्य उत्पादन कार्य शून्य समुदाय, फिर ये द्वारा शब्द का क्या सिग्निफिकेंस हुआ इधर? मतलब ये लाइन में कुछ तो कॉमा या कुछ ऐसा.
Yeah, I think basically that is a issue. But what I understood was that there are people who actually have full-time work, half-time work, part-time work, and intermittent work, right? And that, like, that the government is giving some sort of a guarantee that okay, every family or every person will have 100 days of work in the year, right? So that is what you mean that Anshkalin, right? That yes, there would be some scheme of the people like this, what we call Manrega, a new name for that, right? So when there is some program for there, then they will be able to earn some money out of that. So yeah, I think it's a simple thing,
Yeah.
nothing too much in this.
I can read now here. I'm at home.
जी. Please read the next paragraph.
अभी तक के मानव के संपूर्ण इतिहास में अर्थोपार्जन और संग्रह एक प्रधान कार्य सा, लक्ष्य सा और उपलब्धि सा दिखाई पड़ता है. इसी आधार पर नेतृत्व करने वालों को देखने पर अभी तक राजनेता और धर्मनेता ही मानव समाज में दृष्टिगोचर हुए हैं। इनकी सफलता और असफलता का आधार भी एक ही है, वह है वस्तु संग्रह। इस प्रकार सफल राजनेता वही है जो सार्वजनिक धन संग्रह करते हैं और आम जनता को कड़ी मेहनत का पाठ पढ़ाते हैं। इसी के साथ धन संग्रह न करने वाले की सफाई प्रस्तुत करते ही रहते हैं। दूसरे जो धर्म नेता होते हैं वे भी अपार धन संग्रह करते हैं, तो भी इन लोगों के प्रति संसार के आम लोगों की आस्था बनी रहती है। यह लोगों को त्याग और वैराग्य का पाठ पढ़ाते रहते हैं, स्वयं अपने को परोपकारी, त्यागी और असंग्रही घोषित करते रहते हैं। Throughout the entirety of human history, earning wealth and accumulation has been the primary activity, like a goal and like an accomplishment. Those who are at the helm of society thereby are often seen as either political or religious leaders. The measure of their success or failure is also determined by the extent of their wealth accumulation. A successful political leader is one who amasses the most wealth while teaching the general public, the virtues of hard work, all the while offering assurances that they themselves do not accumulate wealth. Similarly, religious leaders also accumulate vast amounts of wealth, yet the common people continue to place their faith in them. These leaders preach lessons of renunciation and detachment, while simultaneously portraying themselves as altruistic, renunciant, and non-hoarding. This is fairly simple and straightforward.
Yeah, I think it is straightforward. If anyone wants to make any observation or comment. This is the present condition, right? So we can see all around us.
जी भैया।
So
Devbhai,
me,
will you start the political history? Devbhai?
Oh, it's been there since ages, no?
So let's read it in the author's wordings.
जी भैया। राजनीतिक इतिहास, पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री। शक्ति केंद्रित शासन के एकाधिकार उसकी अक्षुण्णता को, उसकी एकता, अखंडता और प्रभाव को राज्य माना। ऐसे एकाधिकार तत्व को पहचानने गए तब मूल में ईश्वर ही सर्वशक्ति केंद्रित सत्ता है, ऐसा मान लिया गया। फलस्वरूप ईश्वर को सर्वशक्तिमान नाम भी दिया गया। जब ईश्वर को पहचाने जाने की बात आई, तब ईश्वर को मानव द्वारा पहचानना संभव नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि मानव एक बहुत छोटी चीज और ईश्वर एक बहुत बड़ी चीज है। तब एक युक्ति निकल आई, वह यह है कि ईश्वरीय महिमा अनुग्रह और निग्रह के रूप में है, इसको हर व्यक्ति पहचान सकता है। इस प्रकार के आश्वासन को तत्कालीन विद्वानों ने तैयार किया। साथ ही लोक मानव में यह विश्वास भी स्थापित किया कि राजा ईश्वर का अवतार होता है और वह कभी गलती नहीं करता। इसी के साथ यह उपदेश भी दिया गया कि राजा, गुरु, ऋषि क्या करते हैं, यह मत देखो ये क्या कहते हैं, उनको सुनो। यह उपदेश का एक तरीका स्थापित किया। इसी के आधार पर पाप, पुण्य, स्वर्ग, नरक की परिकल्पना और कथाओं को बताया गया। पाप और नरक के प्रति भय और पुण्य व स्वर्ग के प्रति प्रलोभन स्थापित करने के लिए परिकथाएं निर्मित हुई। The concept of power-centric rule revolves around the idea of monopoly, its inviolability, unity, and influence being synonymous with the state. When the essence of this monopoly was examined, it was believed that at its core, God is the omnipotent central power. This led to the notion that God is omnipotent. as he embodies all sorry, concentrated power. When it came to identifying God, it was acknowledged that humans, being insignificant in comparison, cannot fully comprehend him. Thus, a solution was proposed. God's greatness is manifest in the form of do's and don'ts, which every individual can recognize. This assurance was crafted by the wise of that era. Additionally, they ingrained in the public the belief that the monarch is a divine incarnation and therefore infallible. Infallible. They also propagated the doctrine that one should not scrutinize the actions of the monarch, gurus, or priests, but rather listen to what they say and follow them. This established a method of sermonizing. Based on this foundation, the concepts of sin and virtue, as well as heaven and hell, were introduced. Fairy tales were created to instill fear of sin and hell and to offer the incentive of virtue and heaven. So, all that was possible to kill the logic was attempted and still being attempted.
Yeah, if you look at it, there is a logic to all these things, and the logic is also, I mean, this faith is actually a very there is a logic to it also, and it is that's why actually people believe in this for so long. And so once Babaji actually said that uh, uh, like for example, he was giving one thing that okay, तुंगभद्रा नदी के किनारे जो है वहां पर वो अ, कुछ ऑफरिंग करने के लिए जाते हैं, उसको मोर बागीना बोलते हैं। तो उनकी मदर के साथ में वो भी जाते थे। थिंक एवरीबडी हियर कैन अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी, सो आई विल जस्ट स्पीक इन हिंदी। सो 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 वो वहां पर उसके लिए जाते थे। सो दैट टाइम ही आस्क्ड हिज मदर कि बेसिकली ये हम लोग क्यों डालते हैं पानी में, है ना, जब वहां पे वो नदी में उफान आता था तब वो उसमें वो ऑफरिंग के लिए जाते थे। दैट प्रैक्टिस इज देयर इवन टुडे। सो सो ही सेज दैट ही सेड कि उनकी माँ ने उनको ये बताया कि जब ये नदी में उफान आता है तो उसकी एक सुंदरता को देखने के लिए देवता लोग देखने के लिए आते हैं, और जब हम ये ऑफरिंग करते हैं तो देवता लोग खुश होते हैं। He says that that logic in itself is complete in itself, that you would say कि हाँ देवता लोग आते हैं, वो लोग खुश होते हैं, उनके खुशी के लिए हम ये करते हैं, right? But the the question actually comes कि आपने देवता को देखा है कि नहीं, और फिर उसके बाद देवता का क्या स्वरूप होता है, that actually becomes a further question that actually challenges the established belief, right? He says that people are satisfied with the logic that has been built, the fairy tales that are built around that. So pretty much all the faith goes around with certain kathas, and these kathas actually are quite cyclical in nature, that one katha ends, another katha begins. So that is where basically the faith actually engages people, and people actually spend their lifetime with uh, with that faith.
It
Yeah.
sometimes makes one wonder, and I am in awe also, how much must have gone into this kind of thinking that it went down to that kind of detailing. Because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking of as a child, I have enjoyed reading fairy tales, probably because it is so appealing, the aspect of um, डूइंग समथिंग लाइक एक राजा है, उसके 4 बच्चे हैं और उसको अपना राज पाठ देना है, तो सबसे वाइजेस्ट बच्चे को चुनेगा, फिर उनको परीक्षाएं देगा, तो जो उस परीक्षा में सफल होगा वो राजगद्दी लेगा। So
Hmm.
at one level, it was very appealing. Even as an adult, I thought, wow, there was some system in place where wisdom was tested. But
Hmm.
one never questioned that अच्छा राजा का होना ही क्यों जरूरी है.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I can relate to it when it's mentioned here that it was so logical, or maybe when you're talking about that, yeah, that logic part was appealing, but no one really questions um, the baseline, what we've considered normal. A raja is normal, or a control, and the controller is a normal way of living.
Yeah, once I asked Babaji that he was saying that the extent to which we think that basically science and materialism are able to think logically and they can think ahead. He said that is not so. He said the idealism has thought much further to
Mm.
actually control the minds of the people. Okay. So he said that the extent to which science has thought about things, idealism actually has thought much more than that, right? आदर्शवाद ने ज्यादा सोच रखा है ना?
Yes.
So that is and we can see that its hold on the society, its hold on the minds of the people is actually much stronger. And yeah, to even to today's date.
And in Rudolf Steiner curriculum in grade 1, the focus is really high on fairy tales because they are supposed to take away these impressions of wisdom and finally winning, getting over the problems in life. And I'm thinking, my God, a whole lot has to be rewritten.
Yeah, it's important to actually is instill the correct stories, which
Yeah.
actually uh, mm, uh, bring the attention to the complementarity in nature, uh,
Yes.
and also basically collaboration, and where the winner does not take all, but everybody wins, right? So it's that's a very important aspect of education. Okay, anybody else wants to say something on this?
Vijay, just now you mentioned something which I have heard for the first time, and it looked very interesting actually. That idealism is. Babaji mentioned that idealism is more logical than science. I never thought like that before, but sounds very interesting in first hearing itself. I'll think more about that. But yes,
It's
yes,
not logical. He said that they have thought through much
they
more.
have thought through more. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they did not invite logic. They basically invited that they give certain logic for their thing. They don't uh, invite logic from people. Okay, they don't invite questioning, they invite questioning only within their frame of things only. Okay, so but what he said was that idealism has thought through a lot more, and in terms of the social organization, how the in basically the governance and so on and so forth. Based on science, we cannot build the ideas of governance. Even our present governance system are built on the ideas of idealism only. Based on science, you cannot build the ideas of ethics, values, dharm rajniti, and you cannot build on that because our science is not so much developed. It can barely describe how the material things work.
Right. Everything like the words we just now read, paropkar, tyag, all are, I mean, science
Yeah,
doesn't talk about them. Yeah.
like if you want to build your constitution, right, the what constitution we have in our country, you cannot build the constitution on the tenets of science. Okay, like so idealism has actually thought through a lot more.
Very interesting. Yeah. Good. Thanks for mentioning it, Bhaiya. Badhiya. Let's move forward. Anyone else who has not read so far and is in a position to read? Vilas bhai, you regularly join. Do you want to read the next paragraph?
Ashwa Didi is also there.
I missed the name. किनका बताया भैया?
Pashwa Didi. Pashwa.
Good morning. I've just joined actually, so I'm not sure which bit to read. I can read the English better. My Hindi reading is not so great. So
Yeah, so I'll do one thing. I'll read the Hindi paragraph and then you can read the English paragraph. Vishwanath ji.
okay, sure.
Yeah. जी इसी आधार पर दान व परोपकार आदि के रूप में पुण्य करने के लिए उपदेश दिया गया। इसमें प्रधानतः ईश्वर को रिझाने के लिए सब पुण्य कर्म बताए गए, जैसे नमन करना, पूजा करना, प्रार्थना करना। हवा, पानी, धरती, सूरज, चांद, तारे, ये सब ईश्वर की महिमा है, इसलिए ये सब पूजा के योग्य हैं। इस प्रकार पूजा के लिए बहुत सारे आधार बनते गए। इसके आधार पर आम जनता को पुण्यार्जन का मार्ग दिखाया। पाप से मुक्ति ईश्वर कृपा से ही होने का आश्वासन दिया। राजा को ईश्वर का अवतार होना बताया गया। राजा का सम्मान और गौरव ईश्वर की पूजा है, ऐसा बताया गया। ईश्वर की कृपा प्राप्त करने के लिए राजाज्ञा का पालन करना भी पुण्य कर्मों में गण्य बताया गया। गुरु की आज्ञा, उपदेश का पालन, शिक्षा ग्रहण, ये सब पुण्य के साक्षात स्वरूप ही कहे गए, अर्थात इन्हें पुण्य का प्रमाण माना गया। इस प्रकार से पुण्य के लिए बताए गए अथवा पुण्य मिलने के लिए जो तरीके बताए गए, उसका पालन करने वाले को पुण्यात्मा मान लिया गया। इसके विपरीत जो कुछ भी किया उनको पापात्मा मान लिया गया। इसी के आधार पर धार्मिक दंड नीति तैयार हुई। पाप का दंड, दमन, प्रायश्चित बताए गए। धर्मार्जन कार्यों में लगे रहना ही सदाचरण बताया गया। इसी क्रम में समुदायगत कार्यकलापों के आधार पर जो जो धर्म कर्म करते रहे हैं, उनके लिए पाप पुण्य के आधार पर सुधर्मों को बताया गया। जी पेशवा देवी, ओवर टू यू।
Okay. On this foundation, On this foundation, sermons were delivered to encourage the accumulation of virtues through acts of charity and benevolence. Primarily, all virtuous deeds were described as means to please God, including acts such as bowing, worshipping, and praying. The elements of nature, air, water, earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, were considered manifestations of God's magnificence, and thus deemed worthy of worship. Consequently, numerous bases for worship emerged over time, guiding the general public towards the path of virtue. People were assured that liberation from sin could only be achieved through divine grace. The monarch was proclaimed to be an incarnation of God, and respecting and glorifying the monarch was equated with worshipping God. Obeying the monarch's orders was also counted as a virtuous act, essential for receiving divine favor. Similarly, following the Guru's orders, adhering to sermons, and receiving education were all regarded as direct embodiments of virtue. Individuals who followed these prescribed methods of earning virtues were considered virtuous, while those who deviated from them were labeled as sinners. On this basis, a religious penal code was established, detailing the ways in which sin should be punished, repressed, or atoned for. Engaging in religious activities became synonymous with righteous conduct. In this way, communities were guided towards what was considered righteous or sinful, based on the religious activities associated with their specific roles in society.
Very nice. It's very clear sounding. think it is fairly straightforward in what it is trying to say. Yeah, that how basically the idealistic society was built. Uh, from a society which basically did not believe in uh, anything to make a faith driven society. Yeah, and then build the systems into that society of a hierarchical rule into the society around the same idea. Yeah. So the king actually then, in a way, takes the responsibility for punishing the sinners, the wrongdoers. So the sinner and wrongdoer becomes the same thing. And the person who actually gives the punishment for sin becomes the representative of the God himself, right? So in that way, the righteous conduct was defined. So if we see that the idealism has its footprint in our present constitution also. And even those the societies that were built by negating religion, they actually tried to define some sort of uh, systems, but they did not have all the scientific reasoning for them. They had their own reasoning for the class struggle and a whole lot of that, but not so much on what is virtue and what is right conduct. Right? They were not able to define that. That was the reason why basically uh, the uh, godless society or the idealist societies actually fell apart. They were not able to hold on to the people's mind. People are not able to basically, people needed faith, and even those people who lived in these societies, they actually lived with a sense of hollowness in them. So here Babaji actually is trying to say that the thing that the faith was trying to address can be more adequately addressed by understanding, and realization in coexistence can actually fill that void instead of actually having the faith into some mystery, faith into some mysteriousness, and have some fairy tales to build around this. Says that we can actually instead see the reality itself. That reality, in understanding of that reality, gives the self confidence that can fill the sense of void that we have. So, if we have that fulfillment within us, we don't need to actually bow to some external authority or be slaves uh, to some guru or um, or some imagined god. Instead, we can actually live based on our understanding.
Bhaiya, would patriotism also fall in the same thing where
Yeah, I think so. Even patriotism is also basically they is held in the same way कि राष्ट्र जो है वो अमर वस्तु है ना?
Hmm.
That name is something which will remain. It is it will prevail and has to prevail. There is and giving your life for that is a sacred thing to do, right? So the faith actually builds the allegiance of people towards the nation, and that based on that only the wars are fought. People will do any kinds of extremes based on that. So nationalism is a limiting thought actually. So when Babaji actually says that राष्ट्र का मतलब धरती है ना, और अंतरराष्ट्र का मतलब चारों अवस्थाएं हैं. So he is actually giving the constitution for the earth, not for a nation state. Because when we do a nation state, we are actually only thinking limited in terms of boundaries of a particular region. But when we are thinking in terms of the earth, then we are thinking of universal good. हम सर्व शुभ के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, है ना, और उसमें अपने देश का, अपने राज्य का शुभ को भी देख रहे हैं. So it is important to actually have that universal mindset, because our problems and our solutions both are not localized. जी.
I guess also this thing about, when you're punished or you're called a sinner, then when you're acting because you're acting out of fear that you don't want to be punished or you don't want to be cast aside, then that action is never fulfilling, right? If you see why you're doing it and that the act is fulfilling in itself, then it's sustainable. Otherwise, it can't be, right? And then the people find ways to shortcut and to escape and to do different things to violate the principles because they don't understand how the principle itself is actually nourishing both for yourself and for the other.
Right. So it says that basically the society is built with the three driving forces so far: भय, प्रलोभन और आस्था. The fear, temptation, and the faith. So faith is also has some aspects of fear and temptation. Yeah. And sometimes faith seems to be actually having a bigger hold onto the people, as we have seen in the history. So basically, when we have he's talking that humans are not actually having only two sides of them, the positive and negative, the sin and the virtue. He's saying that there is a mediating thing also present in them. The madhyasth is also present in them. The madhyasth, or the mediating force that is present, is the one that actually defines them, that has continuity, right? And the Madhyas Darshan is about, brings attention to this mediating force, which is present in the very right from the atom and in a human being as Atma, which is responsible for the righteousness, with responsible for the definiteness and stability of conduct. So he says that that would actually have the continuity of happiness. The fear and incentive are not even touching that place of mediativeness. They are actually trying to arrive a balance, but they cannot achieve that balance that actually is needed, it's possible from the mediative standpoint. So says that the consciousness that we have also has these positive and negative forces. But apart from these positive and negative forces, there is a presence of the third force, which is actually dormant. which is there as an expectation in us, whose need is felt as a sense of void within. If that actually is addressed, is that if that actually is brought to the fore or given the driving seat, then we can achieve the state of self-governance within and as a human being and as a society. जी.
Would you like to read the next para also?
Can I just say one thing, Pasha Didi? I don't know if your microphone is too good, but your voice has such amazing clarity, and it generally sounds like you're like
Yes.
a radio
Yeah.
presenter or professional. I don't know if you're trained for that,
No,
but
no, I'm not.
you should
Yeah.
try some voiceovers probably.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
जी जितेंद्र दीदी.
Yes. ये प्रेशर बन गया सडनली. आई फाइंड माई सेल्फ मुझे भी अच्छी आवाज में बोलना है.
It is inspiration, दीदी, not pressure.
कंपटीशन ज्यादा है मानवीय स्थिति में तो. एनीवे, इस प्रत्येक संविधान में अर्थात राज्य काल में अर्थात कबीला युग ग्राम युग में अंतरित होने के समय में विभिन्न समुदायों के बीच में संविधान बने और स्थापित हुए. कुछ लिखित और कुछ अलिखित दोनों प्रकार से संविधान चलते आए. ईश्वर राजा और गुरु के प्रति आस्था और निष्ठा स्थापित करना ही प्रधान कार्य रहा. पाप पुण्य के आधार पर दंड और न्याय निर्णय करने का अधिकार राजा अथवा राजा के से अधिकृत व्यक्तियों का रहा. इस क्रम में संविधानों में यह भी देखने को मिला, बहिष्कार को भी एक दंड के रूप में प्रयोग किया गया. रहस्यमय पुण्य घटनाक्रम में दिखने वाले अपराधों के आधार पर धार्मिक राजनीति की स्थापनाएं हुई. ऐसी स्थापनाएं इस धरती पर कई समुदायों के बीच हुई. आज भी विभिन्न समुदायों के बीच भिन्नता सहित संविधानों का स्वरूप देखने को मिलता है. In this way, various constitutions were established by different sects during the transition from the tribal village age to the age of monarchy. Some constitutions were written while others remained unwritten. The primary objective of these constitutions was to instill faith and loyalty towards God, the monarch, and the Guru. The monarch, along with those authorized by him, held the power to deliver justice and impose punishments based on the concepts of sin and virtue. In this manner, theocratic states were formed, grounded in the administration of justice for crimes tied to mysterious notions of sin and virtue. Many communities established such theocratic states of earth, and even today, the constitutions are with the differences among the communities. ये theocratic का क्या मतलब होता है?
जैसे ईरान में थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट्स हैं, थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट है, मतलब किसी रिलीजन के ऊपर आधार
Okay.
पर है ना. Where the Sharia is the law, like, for example. Or in the Vatican City, for example, the law is what is written in the Bible.
I think this is just an elaboration from the previous. It's going into the detail of how.
Yeah, right. We can move further if there is no further. This.
जी. देव भाई, will you read the next para?
जी. धार्मिक राजनीति के काल में ही दास युग की स्थापना हुई. इसमें ईश्वर के प्रति दासता, गुरु के प्रति दासता और राजा के प्रति दासता को स्वीकार करने की परंपरा बनी. इसी दासता को दूसरी भाषा में समर्पण कहा गया। उसके फलस्वरूप अधिकांश मानव जाति सशंकित आतंकित रही। क्रमागत विधि से मानव मानस के परिवर्तनों के आधार पर मानव से घटित होने वाली घटनाएं बदलती भी रही, जैसे सत्ता परिवर्तन, वस्तु संचय का परिवर्तन, अपहरण, लूट, उपकार, द्रोह, विद्रोह, युद्ध, व्यापार, शिक्षा, व्यवस्था तंत्र, संस्कार तंत्र, विपन्नता से संपन्नता की ओर बढ़ने के क्रम में हर परिवार व हर व्यक्ति प्रयत्न करता ही आया। The era of theocratic states also marked the beginning of the age of submission. During this time, the tradition of accepting submission to God, submission to the Guru, and submission to monarchs became entrenched. This submission was also referred to as surrender. As a result, a large portion of humanity lived in a state of apprehension and terror. Over time, as the human mindset evolved, the events influenced by humans also changed. Examples of this include shifts in power, changes in wealth accumulation, kidnapping, robbery, acts of treachery, revolt, war, also the acts of trade, education, systems, and governance. Every individual and every family continue to strive for progress to move from poverty to abundance.
Yeah. So here basically talks of that basically how the theocratic states uh, established the age of submission. Yeah. And then with that slowly it was not the best of the times, right? So if we are seeing the how Babaji is accounting the history, he's not referring to some era in the past that was the golden age, okay, where everything was pristine, everything was good. He's in he's only saying that it has a progression from one state to the other, right? One state, one condition actually paving the way for the next. And which is at the end, he basically is saying that entire human history can be said as a Jagriti Kram, as a progression towards awakening. So just like evolution is described from the vantage point of the most evolved entity, so the human history is actually defined as the from the reference point of awakening. That all the journey, all the points that came in the in this progression was actually towards the inherent objective of achieving awakening. So the drive or the directionality is there in human being because of their very being in existence. They have the inherent drive towards awakening. Without our knowing also, we have moved towards our destiny of awakening. So that is basically me trying to say that there was no point in the history where the awakening was there. Point of each of the point of the history can be said as a point of progression towards awakening. So that is from my side. We have about 3 minutes, so we can either read another paragraph or we can actually have some open discussion now. Sanjeev Bhaiya?
We can ask the participants anything so far from anyone. I think it will be very hurried reading if we do the next paragraph in 3-4 minutes.
जी भैया,
So,
बिल्कुल.
yeah, we have some time. So any comments, any observations, not only for let's say today's session, but since we started 6-7 sessions ago, any observations, any suggestions, we can use this time.
जी बिल्कुल. Yeah, anything that we should actually change or the manner in which we are doing things.
So we are the last thing that you mentioned, and this was discussed. A bit of this was discussed earlier as well. Uh, uh, whatever we have seen in the last few paragraphs so far, the way it was, and a lot of things continue even today as well. uh, are we calling them again evolution, or are we calling them part of jagrati kram as well? ये तो होना ही था. It's like, another pedestal is getting set every time.
Yeah, one is that we are narrating that this is what happened, and
Yes.
we are also saying that we are giving the perspective that this happened in the course of awakening. But could this have happened could this have taken a different trajectory? Babaji says that perhaps it could have taken different trajectory also. Maybe people could have actually, mm, uh, from the idealism, they could have actually turned towards uh, understanding coexistence also, if they had accepted human being as the basis of evidence. But somewhere we actually made God as the center of everything, and tried explaining the things, uh, and we basically assumed that these aspects of understanding are too arcane, that they cannot be described even in words. So we actually blocked our own path. So the account of the history that he is trying to say is the way he's saying that this is how it happened. And he's also making a claim that this is a progression towards awakening. But at the same time, he says that it is possible that humans could have actually taken a turn for the better sooner.
We missed the first bus, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we missed the first bus in the Chila Yug only when he says that सबसे पहले गलती वही हुई कि दूसरे को नस्ल की तरह देखा.
Yeah, that's
वही
right.
miss. But I was also thinking भैया आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये जो अभी पैराग्राफ हमने लास्ट में पढ़ा वो आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? I can see medieval history when the church became oppressive and there was submission to धर्म and everything, and आज के टाइम में ऐसा बोल सकते हैं क्या? Do we get to see the remnants of it?
No, we are seeing that. We are seeing basically
Hindutva thing that way, or the Islam jihadism. Could it be that?
they are also there in even basically our the political powers masters are also gain too much power, and we see that autocratic systems are being designed based on that. So it's not really they are not coming up with any new ideology really. They are using the same ideas of controlling the people against the authority, subjugating people, and expecting having the front as the democracy, but at the root of it, the ideas are of control. Yeah, uh, and reducing people to actually non-thinking people. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, since we are in this system purely from the point of view of self-reflection and samiksha, कि ये कहाँ तक हमारे अंदर घुसा है कि हम इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर भी ऐसा ही जी रहे हैं. Though I consider myself a normal, kind-hearted, sensitive human being, but I wonder if somewhere it's kind of sitting inside, and because we are just so entrenched in this system, we grew up in this
बिल्कुल.
system so far.
It is actually very deep rooted. It is part of our psyche. It is, we don't know how much we have unknowingly adopted uh, many of the things which we ourselves consciously deny that it is not what we believe in, and so on, so forth. So it requires when it comes to the practice, only then we really know that where our loyalties really reside. It is one thing to say, okay, we should actually live based on our true earnings and not on the basis of hoarding, right? But quite another to actually practice it. Yeah. So we said that there is a gap between that. So we need to be so Babaji actually in a way is basically being a little kind on us, saying that, okay, uh, don't make a change just now, but first let's listen to what is right and think over that, and first logically conclude what is right, and then basically practice and see whether it makes sense for you, and make a gradual transition. Yeah. So that is what basically makes sense. A violent transition will not lead anybody anywhere. Yeah. So it's about time to, to see all of you next week as well.
जी भैया, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.